Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. The most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for both prelims and mains examination of civil services will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 27th of October. The first important news that is understanding genetically modified mustard. This is from the explained page of the Indian Express. Second, India to expand Navy, make signals more secure. This is the indigenously developed navigation satellite. Third, the finance minister called for industrial investment. This is again the text and context page of the Hindu. Fourth, UNSC counter-terrorism committee to meet in India. And the last is an editorial from Indian Express. That is a room to spend. Apart from the news and editorial, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started this session. And before I begin, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. So starting the session with the first news, that is understanding the genetically modified mustard or GM mustard. Something important for General Studies paper 3 under the subtopic Achievement of India in Science and Technology, Indianization of Technology and Development of New Technology. So recently the GEAC, that is the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, they have yet again cleared a proposal to commercialize the cultivation of GM, that is genetically modified mustard. This was again a long debatable issues from the stakeholders, from the farmers regarding the cultivation of the GM mustard. But after the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, after scrutinizing and understanding the nuances of it, they finally given the approval. The GEAC that functions under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has yet again cleared the proposal for the commercial cultivation of the GM mustard. Now, this is again relevant. They can directly ask you about the ministry concerned for the GAC. So the concerned ministry, the nodal ministry is Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and not the Ministry of Agriculture, right? This thing to be noted. Now, the Genetically Engineering Appraisal Committee or GAC has recommended the environmental release of the transgenic hybrid mustard. This is DMH11. This is Dhara mustard hybrid for the productions and the conduct of the field demonstration study with respect to the effect and if any honey bees or other pollinating agent is taking place in this mustard, right? So there are other things, there are other events which has to take place before a final approval has to be given by the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee. Now, what exactly is the hybrid mustard? I will give you an infograph also in this regard, but let's understand first what is the hybrid mustard. Hybridization की अगर बात करें, ये involve करती है crossing over, right? Says that there's a crossing of two genetically modified dissimilar plant variety that can even form a same species, right? Like we have reproductions in human being and mammals. For plants, there is a crossing over which mostly take place. Now the first generation, that is the F1, this is denoted as F1. The offspring such as cross tend to have yield than what has either plant can individually give. So after crossing over, the modifications or you can say the potential substantially increased. Such hybridization isn't easy in mustard because it has flower, both male and female has piston and stamen and reproductive organ making plant largely self-pollinating. So this is a character of mustard which make it more viable in terms of getting the self-reproductive in terms of self-pollinating because the flower had both male, that is stamen, as well as pistil, that is in female. So I think those of you who have studied biology till class 8th or 10th must be aware that in female there's a pistil in flower and for male there's a stamen. And now to provide you more clarity on the hybridization, this is an image that will help you. So what is the science behind the DMH1? So DMH stand for Dhara Mustard Hybrid 11 and a team that has improvised in 1990 the breeding innovation that was pioneered in Belgium and this was called as Barnes and Buster male satellite technique. It works on the principle of removing the male satellite in one plant and restoring the offspring in the next plant. Right? So this is how it's actually work. This is a pollen free plant. This is in the female, and this is a pollen producing parent. This is in the male, right? So you see there's a stigma which is there in the female and the fertile anther which is there, and from the fertile anther it has a cross pollination, and this gives the first generation hybrid plant. And this is how the Bernstein and Argan जो ribonucleic acid है जिसे RNA कहते हैं, and even for DNA that is called deoxyribonucleic acid जो कि plants में absent होती है. So RNA fragments which again further developed, and it's intact with the breastpin and intact RNA is there, and the final product in the F1 generation is being produced. I'm not getting into the technicalities of this process because that is not that relevant for the examination purposes. So this is how the developing pollen actually get into the tact, and the process finally lead into development of the new hybrid flowers. Now, how has the hybridization been achieved and mastered? Talking about the genetically modifications, the scientists at the Delhi University Center for Genetical Manipulations of the Crop Plants, they have developed a hybrid mustard. This is DMH11 that contain two alien genetically or gene isolated from the soil bacterium called Bacillus amyloculiferans, right? And this scientists have developed the Bresson Busters techniques to create what they say a robust and viable hybridization technique in the mustard, specifically in context of Indian agriculture. Now, the system was used to develop DMH11 crossing by popular Indian mustard called Varuna. These names are important. This can be relevant for prelims and many other competitive examination. And with other called East European, that is early Hera 2. This is a mutant variant. Now, the DMH11, that is a Dhara mustard hybrid, is claimed to have shown an average 28% yield in the increase. जो total increase है, उसमें 28% तक की productions में higher rate देखी गई है over the Varuna that contained the field trail according to the data that was there by the ICAR, that is Indian Council for Agriculture Research. Now, what was the work that was done by the GERC, that is the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee? It's a body that is responsible for the approval and appraisal related to the release of GM crops in India, whether it is product or organism. So this is a body, the apex body, which take care of all the matters related to genetically modified productions and crops. Now, in case it also recommended the environment release of DMH11 for the seeds productions and testing prior for the commercial releases. In other words, it has given the green signal for the commercialization and cultivations to the farmers, with production seed material being the first step. So even UPSC can directly ask you some questions with regards to the GEAC, their functioning, and even the nodal body that is within the ministry which is actually functioning. So these type of information might be relevant for the upcoming prelims examination. Now, will farmer plant the GM mustard? This is a concern because the farmer were reluctant in the part of the cultivation for the GM crop. Now, definitely not this year. This is going to happen since there is no seeds available and planting season of the crop is like early October and November, which is still not possible for this particular year, which is virtually over. Also, it remains to seen that the central government will accept the GEAC recommendation, जो कि recommendations आई है Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee के तरफ से, उनके बारे में सरकार उस पर study करेगी, and then only they will ask the farmer to use it or not. Although this is if the green signal is given by the GEAC, it means that this will be utilized. The compelling motive here is to that could be spelling for the edible oil import bills, and country produce only 8.5 to 9 million ton of edible oil annually, while produce 14 to 14.5 metric ton of the record, which is impacting our foreign exchange also. So this will definitely help for India to reduce its import dependence in terms of the mustard oils. Now moving to the other news, India to expand Navy, make signal more secure. Something relevant for General Studies Paper 3, that is Achievement of India in Science and Technology, Indianization of Technology, and Development of New Technology. So the Indian Space Research Organization, that is ISRO, that is working on a series of improvement to NAVIC, or the Indian equivalent to the GPS positioning system. जिस तरह से GPS US में काम करती है, India में indigenously developed नाविक सिस्टम को डेवलप की गई है, राइट, सो दैट मोर पीपल आर मोटिवेटेड to install and use the Navic. So what is Navic? This is navigations with the Indian constellations that uses 7 satellites to provide real-time positioning and timing services in India, an area extended up to 1500 kilometers from the country border. And Navic is a system that is not widely used in India because of the mobile phone are not compatible. So to ensure that it is there in each and every Indian mobile phone and which is manufactured in India or which is being used in India, the government of India has asked the mobile manufacturers like Apple, MI and all other manufacturers to provide the hardware changes and to ensure that these navigation system is actually working on their phone, right? So the Indian government has been pressing manufacturers to add the compatibility and has set that deadline for January 2023 to meet all the parameters required to ensure that Indians are using the navigation and indigenously developed satellite system, or you can say the navigation system. Now, adding band to Navic, ISRO chairman has stated that adding L1 band to the Navic would be a major changes that will be done by the ISRO. And this bandwidth will have a part of GPS that is most used in the civilian navigation. Currently, Navic is only compatible with L5 and the S band that hasn't easily penetrated into the civilian sector and it's only provided with a short cord. So this can be relevant for prelims examination. The UPSC can directly ask you which particular band has been recently added in the Navic L1 and what are the advantages. Now there are 5 more satellites in the offering to place defuncted Navic satellite that would be launching in the coming months by the ISRO. Now, reducing the dependency on the foreign system, even government of India is not looking forward to use the GPS that is the US own. So the union government aims to reduce the dependence of foreign system, including the widely used US global positioning system, जिसे आप GPS के नाम से जानते हैं. China, European Union, Japan, Russia are the countries that have their own regional navigation system and they have opposed to use the GPS that is the global positioning system of the United States. Now, in light of that, the Prime Minister called for a self-reliance in terms of the regional navigation satellite and called for further advancement in the navigations of the India over the years has expanded the use of regional navigation system and navigation with Indian constellations. According to the government, Navic provide more accurate domestic navigation and it is used to benefit the economy as well. Now, talking about the other feature and advantages, there are 7 satellite complete that will be there in the Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, or also known as IRNSS, provide accurate real-time positioning and timing, benefit fishermen, farmers, and all other people who are part of India and SAARC nations. कुछ और benefit और advantages की बात करें, terrestrial, aerial और marine navigation में help करेंगी, disaster management, vehicle tracking and fleet management integrated with mobile phone, precise timing, virtual and voice navigation, driver mapping, and also the geodetic data capture will be there. Terrestrial navigations for the hikers as well as for the travelers. Now moving to the other news, Finance Minister called for industrial investment, something important for General Studies Paper 3, that is Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization, resource growth and development. So recently the Finance Minister has asked the leaders of the companies that was holding them back for investing in the manufacture. So basically the government of India wanted to know why the investment in the manufacturing is so deteriorating. We have seen post-COVID, this sector that was supposed to take a pick and upstick was not there. Clearly, the finance minister did not see investment happening at the pace that was actually anticipated by the government of India. And it hopes that revitalizing the private investment in the government has said that in September 2019, in light of that, to ensure that more participants is there, गवर्नमेंट ने जो टैक्स है उसको भी रिडक्शन किया, उसमें बेसिकली फ्रॉम 30% they have reduced it to 22% so that even the investment is more, but that has actually not happened and government has also reduced the SOP, that is the standard operating procedures, the exemption were also provided. But after all these efforts, the positive results in the manufacturing sector was not evident. Now current scenario की अगर बात करें, this is a data driven fact. आई थिंक इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू टू नो ऑल्सो, आपको याद करने की जरूरत नहीं, बट कुछ बेसिक डेटा है जो आपको पता होनी चाहिए. द इंडियन इकोनॉमी इज इन पुअर कंडीशंस, राइट. पोस्ट कोविड रिकवरी हो रही है, बट जीडीपी के फिगर्स की अगर बात करें, द क्वार्टर्स एट द एंड ऑफ द जून, द ग्रॉस fixed capital formation, that is GFCF, is something that has rose up to 9.6% to 12.77 lakh crore from 11.66, right? This is for the quarter one. Now, in context of overall GDP growth, 2.8% is there, right? And this has reached up to earlier from 35.85, it has reached up to 36.85 lakh crore rupees. Again, the number in lakh is not important for your examination. आप percentage format में कुछ data याद कर सकते हैं. Manufacturing GVA की अगर बात करें, gross value added services, this has rose up to 6.5%. Industrial productions in each year have seen pretty little growth and compared to the fiscal year, but the anticipation was on the higher side. The index on industrial production, जिसे IIP भी कहते हैं, and the S&P production manufacturing index or manager index, and the manufacturing has progressed a little bit. But again, the government of India is expecting it to be on a more higher side. Now, what is happening and what is a demand? So, the private company investment, when they are able to estimate the profit, that comes from the demand. The center is the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. This is an agency which even gave an idea about the consumer sentiments. उन्होंने बताया that that's still below the pre-pandemic level, but it's far higher than what was there in for last past 12 to 18 months. तो उसमें numbers increase हुई है, but जो anticipations हैं even for the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy उससे काफ़ी low है. आरबीआई की मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी रिपोर्ट के मुताबिक अगर चले, द डेटा टू क्वार्टर टू हैज इंडिकेटेड दैट द एग्रीगेट डिमांड रिमेन वन and when supported the ongoing recovery in the private consumption and the investment demand. It shows that the seasonal adjustment of the capacity utilization has rose up to 74.3% in the quarter one, which is highest in the last 3 years. Now moving to the other news, UNSC Counter-Terrorism Committee to meet in India. I have discussed this news yesterday also, but there was some other background that was discussed. Now for this particular news, we'll be most focusing on the outcome of the meeting that is going to take place. Something important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic Important International Institution, Agencies, Structure and their mandate. Now, India is hosting a special meeting of the United Nations Security Council Counter-Terrorism Committee, right, which will discuss the overreaching theme. जो इस बार की theme है. This is important for many other competitive examinations. The theme is countering the use of new and emerging technology for the terrorist purposes. ऐसी कौन-कौन सी technology है जो कि threaten कर सकती है, and even that can be utilized by the terrorist purposes need to be curbed and need to be looked after. The panel will also discuss the terror financing, the cryptocurrency, the use of drone as a new age terrorism. Crypto is again a threat for the economy. Even the drones, which can be misused, and terror financing is an important concern that India has been severally raising in the many multilateral forums. Now, there will be the first such meeting of the UNSC CTC in India since the establishment in 2001. The permanent representative of the India in the UN as a chair has said that CTC for year 2022 will be again very important. Now, tackling terror is again an important theme. The use of emerging technology for spreading terror is an issue that has increased the concern across the globe, and mindful of increasing the threat posed by the misuse of new and emerging technology, as well as many positive use of the technology for the counter-terrorism committee to hold the purpose of the meeting is something very important, and India is holding it for the first time would be something, a benchmark that would be set in India to set a precedent for such technological misuse that is taking place across the globe. Now, what is UNSC? United Nations Security Council. It is one of the 6 main organ of the United Nations. Permanent headquarter की बात करें, this is based in New York. Location is at Church House, Wisdom, London, and primary responsibility is to maintain the international peace and security. And the first session was held in 17th of January 1946. Now moving to the editorial of the day, room to spend. Something important for General Studies Paper 3, that is Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization, resource growth and development. So, what I'm going to discuss under this editorial, first talking about the theme of this editorial. The theme is financial spending for both state as well as for the central government, and be looking into the important aspect of this editorial with important subheads like measures states government interest free capex लोन जो कैपिटल लोन है ऑफ बजटेड बोरोइंग की क्या कॉन्सेप्ट है इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस में combined revenue deficit of the states and the way forward. Now, from fiscal point of view, the state government are in a stronger positions to emerge as a key driver of the economic development this year. This is what the survey and the data has forecasted. But while the availability of the fund does not appear to be constrained, surprisingly, actual spending by the state so far has been rather muted. So states की अगर spending की बात करें, states ने काफ़ी कम spending की है, चाहे वो welfare program हो, investment हो, industrial policies हो, they're not performing as far as anticipated. The state has the ability to ramp up the capital expenditure during the remainders of the year, which is remaining till the financial year, which will be starting next year. The key determinant of the aggregate fiscal impulse definitely depend upon the performance of the state as well. Now, कुछ ऐसे स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की बात करें जिनकी मेजर स्टेक है इन टर्म्स ऑफ द इकोनॉमिक परफॉर्मेंस. The analysis has based that 13 major states are the important game changer that include Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Punjab, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal. So these are the states, mostly in the industrial state, account for 85% of India's GDP. An important figure that you can take a note of, and you can use this as a fodder point in the mains examination. Now, these 13 states have pegged their capital spending at 5.8 trillion, and they have sharp uptick the actual spending at 4.1 trillion for 2021 and 2022. Now, in order to estimate the capital outlay and the net lending, these states firstly need to calculate the resources that are likely to be available, and to them, funding with their fiscal deficit will be an important point. This includes the unconditional market borrowing, जो कि 3.5% तक के लिए कैपिंग रखी गई है, for the state gross domestic products, and additional borrowing of a completion of the power sector, that is 0.5% for the interest-free capex loan which is provided by the central government. तो कुछ contributions यहाँ पे central government की तरफ से भी दी जाती है. Now, there's a concept of interest-free capex loan to the state government. The interest-free capex loan was first launched by the center in October 2021 as a part of the measures to support the economic activities, but the government has stepped up the allocation in this scheme from 1 trillion to 1 trillion कर दी गई है, जो कि पहले 150 billion हुआ करती थी. From 150 billion, the government has made it increase to 1 trillion for the previous year. The amount is being used to the state as an interest-free loan for 50 years over the year, but has also been normal borrowing in the ceiling. The estimated resource flows this channel and even reduced by the off-budget debt that is to be adjusted in 2023 and the post-projected revenue deficit for this particular year. Now, there's a concept of off-budgeting borrowing. यहाँ पे क्या होती है off-budgeting की अगर बात करें, off-budgeting by the state referred to as a loan taken by the entities special purpose vehicle, जिसे SPV भी कहते हैं, special purpose vehicle, and are expected to serve the state government own budget instead of cash flow revenue generated by the borrowing entity. तो यूनियन गवर्नमेंट ने क्लैरिफाई किया है रिसेंटली दैट ऑफ बजट बोरोइंग की अगर बात करें will be considered as a borrowing of the state government that would be subject to the provisions of Article 293 sub clause 3 of the Indian Constitution. अभी Article 293 क्या है? You need to know. So basically Article 293 covers the borrowing of the state government. Under the clause 3 and 4, Article 293, the state government need to obtain the consent of the central government. तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के लिए सेंटर की कंसेंट मैंडेटरी होती है फॉर रेजिंग अ फ्रेश लोन इन केस ऑफ इंडेटनेस and to the later, and such consent may be granted to subject of certain conditions, right? So the conditions will need to be fulfilled by the state government, after which the central government can allow the off-budget borrowing. Now the center would adjust the incremental off-budget borrowing raised by the state government from net borrowing ceiling of the 1/4 year of the period beginning from 2023, and this will end in 2025-2026. Now there's a combined revenue deficit to the states, As per the ICR estimate, the combined revenue deficit for the state government is 2.21 trillion, higher than what was anticipated in the budget. And while the tax devolutions with the GST compensation grant are likely to exceed the amount budgeted by the state this particular year. Based on the assessment, the state of Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal have adequate resources to fully fund their budget capex this year. तो ये स्टेट के पास सफिशिएंट अमाउंट है ताकि वो अपने जो बजट कैपेक्स हैं उनको इस बार के लिए फिनांस कर पाए. Now, the way forward, basically, if you need to have a financial, or even for the cooperative federalism, creating a new fiscal architecture is very important. That is based on effective decentralization, which give more power to the state government, and transportation and transparent GST is required. The central government has shared the revenue sharing between the center and the state government. So, a transparent GST regime, independent finance commission, and effective Niti Aayog can strengthen the unique cooperative federalism in our country. Now, with effectively, the state ramp up spending will have a critical bearing on the pace of the Indian economy that grow in the second half of this year. Moving to the MCQ questions of the day, before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is C. For second question, the correct option is C again. Today's MCQ for practice, आपको बताना है मैत्री सेतु प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में. This symbolizes the bilateral relationship between India and Sri Lanka. The project has been taken by the Land Port Authority of India. The second question of the day, that is the SLIC 2, is between India and Sri Lanka, India, Japan and Russia, India and Afghanistan, India and Uzbekistan. So do check out for the correct option. This type of question might be relevant for the upcoming prelims examination. This was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.